This pattern is called the Unsinkable, and I'm tying it up on a size 14 long TroutFly hook. I'm using a 70 denier fluorescent orange thread. Just get this started here on our hook. We'll grab that tag end and we'll cut off the excess. From there, I'm just going to go ahead and take this thread on back to where the barb of the hook is. So I can just let my thread dangle there. That looks to be about the right position. So the first material we're going to tie in is just going to be some orange floss. I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of wraps to get that secured. I'll pull it backwards a little bit so I don't have to cut it off. And we'll coax it to kind of lay down as we clean up those butt ends. And we'll be covering this up with some dubbing, so a few fibers sticking out are not going to hurt us. I'm going to move that out of the way. The body on this fly is going to be dubbing, but with an overlay of foam, which is going to make it unsinkable. That's where you get the name from. So on the body of this, aside from the dubbing that we'll use, we're going to use this tan foam. That color just kind of matches the caddis flies I have in my area, and I've kind of tapered it. Hopefully you can see that. You can taper it either with scissors or with a lighter. You want this to overhang just a little bit over the back end of the hook. We're going to take a wrap to secure that in place. I'll go ahead and, before I secure everything down, I'm going to take a look at that, make sure it's about the length I want. That's going to be about where I want it. Now, to help keep this kind of secure in place, and it will spin around on you a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take my thread and actually go around that foam body, right around the base of it with 2 or 3 wraps. And then I'm going to come right back to my hook shank here and take a couple of wraps. So my dubbing is going to be just some rabbit fur. This is a cinnamon color, so it's kind of orangish. We'll go ahead and dub this onto our thread. This will help us give this a little bit of a buggier look. And if you know me and watch my videos, you know I like a buggy look. So get that dubbed down. I've got a little bit of bare thread there that will allow me to travel right back to the base of the foam. I want to make sure I get a good wrap right back here at the base of that foam, and then I'm going to travel forward up the shank of the hook here. And as I go along, as I need to, I might end up tightening some of this down. We're going to add just a tiny little bit more. Trying to keep that somewhat tight. So I'm going to go ahead and tease out a little bit of that rabbit fur just with some Velcro here. You want to be kind of careful. Don't just go at it really hard, just because it'll catch that floss and pull it out. And I just want this a little bit buggy. I don't need it exceptionally buggy. So about like that. And I've got some of the guard hairs kind of sticking out, some longer pieces. You can just come on in with your scissors, kind of trim off anything that's extending beyond the bottom of the hook there. So from here we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a nice base for us to tie in a hackle. I want to leave enough room behind the eye, so I'm going to leave at least an eye length or half an eye length back, with this still sticking out over the front, our foam. And I'm just going to come back over and pull this fairly tight down. And then I'm going to make sure I've got a nice clean ramp for this to go onto. The hackle is just going to be a nice furnace hackle. I'm going to tie that in by the stem here. I'm going to circle underneath it so I can get it to stand back up at more of a 90-degree angle. Then come over the back side of it, which is going to help secure it. I'll pull a little bit of extra length here on the stem so I can get it to start right back here where I want it. And I'm going to secure that down right up against that foam. I can turn it now and you can cut off the excess of the stem. So here my feather is long enough that I'm not going to use hackle pliers, but I'm going to just take touching wraps of this hackle moving right up behind our foam head. Take one more wrap here. And from there I'm going to actually lift the foam up and I'm going to take one wrap in front of that foam. And then I'm just going to come on in and we'll tie over the top of that hackle fiber with a couple of wraps. I'll pull that back. See if we can exaggerate a little bit and capture some of those errant fibers. And then I'm just going to once again turn my vise a little bit sideways so I can reach in. I'm going to pull that hackle a little bit forward so I can clip it off right at the very, very base. With that, I'm going to stroke everything kind of backwards. I'm just going to take some wraps to create a small orange head here. Right up against that foam base. So now I'm just going to grab my whip finisher. I'm going to stroke everything backwards again. Go ahead and release our thread from our whip finisher. And pull that nice and tight. And I can come on in with my scissors or my thread cutter. It actually works even better. Release our thread. We're going to go ahead and grab our scissors. I'm going to pull this foam over the eye of the hook, and I want to cut this off about an eye length in front of the eye. It's going to stick up just like that. And that is the Unsinkable. A great TroutFly pattern, really good Caddis pattern. That foam is just going to help keep that right on top of the water. The foam is going to, the color of the foam is also going to make it really visible on the water. So grab yourself a hook, throw it in your vise, and give this one a shot.